Okay, so we're on section 1, part 2, classifications and diversity. So it starts off with the definition of a binomial system, and it's a system that we use to name organisms based on two names, hence the term bi for binomial. And the first name is your genus name. So Homo would be the genus, and this is for humans. And then your second name would be your trivial name, which is also the name of the species, but you kind of have to say both parts together to actually call it a species. Kind of hard to explain, so I like to call this one descriptive name or common name. When you're writing the scientific notation or using a binomial system, it needs to be underlined or italicized, and your genus name, here, mousy, 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 yeah, your genus name has to be capitalized. The trivial name is lowercase. Okay? Now, the animals are classified. We're going to go into the animal kingdom. I'm pretty sure that's what it says. It doesn't, but that's what I'm sticking with. So we're going to talk about the animal kingdom. So your kingdom is Animalia, and it goes down into more specific grouping as you go through. So kingdom, inside of a kingdom is a phylum. Inside of a phylum is a class. Inside of each class are orders. Inside of orders are families. Inside of family is a genus, and then a singled out species. Okay? Easy way to remember those groupings. King Philip came over for grape, spaghetti, green Skittles, whatever. Key to the word species. Species are groups of animals that can mate, and their children can also mate and have children. So an example is donkeys. Let me just grab this picture for you. Okay, so a male donkey plus a female horse will give you a mule. Now, two mules cannot make another mule. It's kind of weird. So, male lion, female tiger will make a liger, but two ligers will not make another liger. So, they're not a new species. Okay? Little funny. So, species are a group of animals that are similar and can produce offspring that can produce offspring. So, genetically viable. So, we're going to go into a classification of animals known as vertebrates. Vertebrates are animals that have a backbone, and inside the backbone, nervous setup. So a central nervous system, we could call it, but I don't like to call it that. So real quick, we're going to bang through it and get it done. First group is fish. They have dual chambered hearts. They can move using fins. They lay eggs, swim bladder. Yeah, I'm generally going to read what's on this. I'm the gangster that I am. I just stole this PowerPoint. So feel free to read it, and then you have an assignment after you read it. Amphibians. So smooth, moist skin is the big one. Reptiles. Dry, scaly skins is the big one. Birds, or aves, A-V-E-S, like aviation. And then mammals. There you go. Now what you want to do with that information is turn it into some sort of a table, and I'll show you what I mean at the end. So those are your vertebrates. Then you get to your invertebrates. Please note, for Cambridge, you only have to know arthropods, and in the arthropods you need insects, crustaceans, arachnids, and myriapods. And you only need to know annelids, nematodes, and mollusks. There are a few more phylum that are there. You don't need those. So basic characteristics of animals, which we already went through. Read for yourself. I stole this. Invertebrate, no backbones. Most of the animals in the animal kingdom are invertebrates. So the big one is nematodes, the first one. These are small roundworms. They are pretty much just a tube and a tube. They're not segmented. That's the big boy. They're just one worm, just one smooth, flat piece, okay? So think roundworms. And then you have the other type of worms that you're used to, which is annelids, annelida. Let's just go for annelids. They are segmented, so they have, like earthworms, little pieces that are just go back, that are just stuck together, segments, okay? And of course there's your features that you need to put into a table on your own. So repeating segments. So we're still on annelids. That does include leeches because they have segments. Mollusks. Yes, do not get confused with mollusks. Snails are your mollusks, but so are octopus and squids. Octopus, octopi. Alright, so those are your basic features of mollusks right there. Again, this information just needs to go into a table. It's a bunch of reading, bang it into a table, learn the table. So different types of mollusks, you don't need to learn every feature of each one. The big one is arthropods. Your basic features of arthropods are jointed legs, segmented body, hard outer shell. Okay, so all arthropods will have those features, and then those features are broken down into further groups. So again, jointed legs, outer shell, and segmented body. Alright, first group is insects. You know your basic insect stuff. 3 pairs of legs, or 6 legs in total. Body part has 3 parts. Again, table. Don't worry about metamorphosis. Please note when we're talking about insects, we're talking about adult insects, not babies. Arachnids, spiders, scorpions, ticks, and mites. Yay. Nope. Myriapods are centipedes and millipedes. Again, there's their features. And then crustaceans. That's a big lobster. Alright? So what you need to do is turn all of this stuff into a tabla. And be able to do that off the cuff. Again, I don't really care what your table looks like. Have some pictures, have some words. This is what a student done off the internet. They did it all, put it all into a table, and they were able to reproduce that over and over and over again. Alright, so, and then a basic one. Plant characteristics, you don't have to go too deep, just monocot and dicot, which stands for monocotyledon and dicotyledon. If you are monocot, you have a single cotyledon. Go back. So if you remember from, well, as you'll learn, sorry, not as you remember. Where's my mouse? The cotyledon is the food source for the seed. Monocots single. Their leaves are long and narrow. You'll see a lot of it with grass. Their vascular bundles are scattered, and their flowers have parts that are in multiples of 3. Versus a dicotyledon, 2 cotyledons. Their leaves are have branched veins in them, so one in the middle, and then it kind of just sticks off to the side all over the place. Their vascular bundles are in a ring, and their floral parts come in multiples of 4 and 5. So their flower has 20 or 10 or 12 versus this. What's funny is like the multiples of 3 and the multiples of 4, what happens if it's a common multiple, like 12? You know, that one's weird. I don't know. You have to look at the leaves. Let's talk about viruses. Now viruses are kind of weird. They're not really an animal, but are they? I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. Technically it's alive. So the first thing about viruses is they are teeny tiny. They are 100 times smaller than bacteria, and bacteria are 1,000 times smaller than regular cells. So they do not have a real cell structure. They're pretty much just a strand of DNA or RNA surrounded by a little capsid or shell surrounded by an envelope. Okay? So the DNA, this capsid is a protein coat, and the envelope allows the virus to get into, oh, I didn't put it there. They go into another cell, and this little piece of DNA finds its way into the nucleus, and it just takes over the cell. It makes the cell do what it wants it to do. So let's say you had a friend who was writing a story, all right? So he's writing on a piece of paper a story about dinosaurs, and you start talking to him about cats, and you'll notice he'll accidentally write cats every 5 minutes. Viruses do the same thing. They get into the nucleus and make the cell do something it doesn't want to do. Fungi, creepy little things. They are multicellular, and they form these structures that connect everybody together called hyphae, and they form this long network that you would call a mycelium. Alright, so the nuclei are spread throughout the hyphae, well, throughout the mycelium, and fungi eat in a very weird way. What they do is they pretty much barf on the food, and then they just roll around in the barfed food. Well, the food will break down outside, and they'll just absorb it through their cell wall. So just like a plant cell, fungi have a cell wall, and it is just like a plant cell, made out of cellulose, and in some cases it's made out of chitin. So reproduction, I don't have it on this slide because I'm so prepared. Hyphae reproduce through spores. So think mushrooms, they have a little part that'll poke out, that'll give off spores and just spread them, and those spores will land on something that they'll grow up and repeat the process. Nasty. So what is it? Yeast is a fungi, and so is mucor. Mucor is the prime example. That's bread mold. Okay, so remember, fungi digest outside of themselves and then absorb whatever gets broken down. And then we have bacteria. Also, like plant cells, they have a cell wall. Okay, they're about 1,000 times smaller than a regular cell, and they have a cell wall that is made out of, well, I don't have it on this slide, I had it on the other one, so we won't get into names on that one because I don't feel like spelling it. Alright, just like a cell membrane, they're pretty much the slow cousin of plant cells because of this little chromosome here. Plant cells and animal cells, all their chromosomes are wound up really tight and packed in a suitcase called a nucleus. Bacteria cells never really got that organized, so they just keep all their chromosomes floating around inside the cytoplasm. These plasmids are also little rings of instruction and DNA that float around as well. And funny thing is, we can add plasmids and change plasmids in DNA to get them to do what we want them to do. Alright, we're almost done. Alternate classifications. So, regular classification, we classify animals based on what we see. Okay, I see a bunch of cats. You cats all have spots, you go over there. You cats all have stripes, you go over there. You cats are all black, you go over there. You cats are all beige, you go there. And then we say, well, you're beige and big, so you're a lion. You're beige and small, so you're Garfield. Alright? So in this situation, we can do the same thing. We have a group of animals, let's classify them. Everybody who is blue, go to the left. Everyone who's gray, go to the right. You know? Or everyone who's smiling, go one way. Everyone who's not smiling, go the other. That's how we classify at the moment. An alternative way to classify, I did not animate that right, is to look at blood types and do DNA sequencing. And that way we can work out whose grandparents are who. So if I took blood tests and we're pretending that I DNA sequenced and got these crazy letters, and I found that these guys all had A, B, C, D, E, and F in common, then what we know is all their grandpas, or their grandpa was the same person, or their ancestor. Alright? And these two, elemental PQR, it goes all up to Q. Elemental PQ are the same, so they must have had the same grandpa. So it's kind of like a family tree. The upside to doing it this way, your adopted cousin that looks just like you isn't going to be in your family tree because we did it by blood. So in these situations, someone who looks like you, we could say is your relative just because they look like you and they act like you. What we'll find is they're actually not once we do DNA sequencing. Alright? And that's when it all starts to make a little bit more sense. And we have a really good example. Let's say in the US there are two family of stars. Alright? So these are both families of gray stars. And one of them get on a boat and go to Africa. And they continue to grow as a family. And they become yellow stars. What you'll notice is that they're very similar, but they just have a few differences, and that's how that happens. Okie dokie. So let's just double check the syllabus really quick. Define and describe binomial system. Yes. List the main features of vertebrates. Yes. No. I didn't tell you the name of this. Cladistics. The common ancestor, or finding out you all have the same grandpa based on DNA testing, is called cladistics. Main features of viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Done-ish. I can't think of anything else for those guys. Really small cell walls, not a real cell. Bang. Cool. So again, the big thing is to sit down and make a table. You should also make a table for the DNA, viruses, bacteria, and fungi as well.